Hello and welcome to the program. We call this one Molotsky on Money. What's the show all about? Well, the clues are in the title. We'll be discussing money, specifically investment strategies, taxes, estate planning, insurance, and many other topics, all of it designed to help you and your family improve your overall financial picture. The Molotsky part of our title comes from our panel. Their name is Molotsky. Each week, we have Stan Molotsky, president and founder of the SHM Financial Group, as well as Lee Molotsky, vice president of the SHM Financial Group. We invite you to stay tuned because we have some real valuable information on this show and every show that we hope everyone can benefit from. Tonight we're going to be talking about how to save money. One of our favorite topics, right, Stan?
It's a process,
right.
Ongoing process.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder, but it's a process.
You said something, and I'm jumping ahead here, but many years ago, Stan said to me, why don't you pay yourself first? And I stopped and thought about that. And that was brilliant.
Sage advice.
Really, I mean, because everybody does the same thing. Well, we're not going to, we got to pay this and this and this and this and this, and then they don't have anything left over for themselves.
Right, and it's the old story. I mean, who's the most important person in your life? You know, yourself, along with your family, et cetera. So you have to take care of yourself and your family first, second and third, and the rest falls in line. So the key is, as you can, you pay yourself first. Whatever the amount is, you pay yourself first.
Okay, we're calling tonight's show The Way to Build Your Own Retirement Basket, or basically, Lee, it's just talking about saving money, pretty much, right?
Right.
To use for retirement or whatever.
Whatever your goals and objectives are, wherever along the way of life you are, you know, everybody has their own goals and objectives. That's your target. So whatever your nest egg is or whatever your goals are, we're going to try and work on saving towards that goal.
How are you doing in saving?
We're doing well. Okay. We're doing well. It's an old Yiddish proverb. It's called yittle by yittle.
Okay. And what does that mean? Explain that
a little
for
by
our non-Yiddish clients here.
Okay. Little by little.
Okay.
We do it every month. We sit down and we revisit how the family budget is doing.
Okay. We're talking about the way to build your retirement basket, or as I like to say, just simply to save money. And we're going to go through some points here. And I made reference to this at the top of the show. And the first point is, as Stan had told me 30 years ago, pay yourself first. Now, what do you mean, Stan? You've got percentages here. What do you mean here by these percentages?
They're just the amounts that you should be deducting from whatever checks you get, whenever you get them, whatever pay you get. You should be deducting that 3, 5, 10, 20%, whatever you can afford to do, but you have to do something. Just deduct it, put it into some kind of an account, and let that account grow over a period of time for some specific thing, whether it's you're funding it for your kids' colleges, whether you're funding it for yourself for your first home, whatever the purpose is, but you have to start in the habit of doing it. And when you start, the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be.
So in other words, Lee, 3, 5, 10%, if you make $1,000 a week, take $100 out if you're using 10% and then put that away?
Yes.
Is that pretty much?
Yeah, it almost is like a rainy day slush fund, which you can second as a retirement or basket.
And a lot of times people say, well, gee, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to put anything away because I'm spending all my money. And I always use the analogy, well, make believe that you were called into your boss's office and they said to you, you're doing really well, but our business isn't as good as it used to be, and we're going to lay off some people. But don't be concerned. We're keeping you, but we're going to have to cut your salary 10%. How would you feel? Normally, you'd feel happy that you have your job, not too happy that you had a salary cut, but happy that you have your job. If you take that same analogy and say, okay, I just received a 3, 5, 10% cut in salary, am I still going to be able to live in the style to which I think I'm becoming accustomed? You probably can, but then at least you've put money aside into a something to start that, like Lee said, that rainy day fund or that particular program for some future benefit.
And a lot of times people just have it automatically deducted. That's a great way to do it, right?
Exactly.
Come right out of your account.
You don't even, exactly.
Don't even feel it.
Exactly.
You know, when
right.
you do it that way, you know, it's like it wasn't there.
Exactly.
So it's gone. But okay, we're talking about how to build your retirement basket or simply how to save money. And all right, so you've saved some or you've taken it out of your pay or whatever you do, paying yourself first. Where do you put the money when you pay yourself first? We got a couple of options here, tax deferred versus taxable. IRA versus 401k, or an IRA versus a Roth. So we start with A, tax deferred versus taxable.
Well,
Stan?
the old adage, I mean, if you can put money into non-taxable accounts, that money is growing and compounding, and obviously it's going to be worth substantially more than if it goes into a taxable account. And one of the ways that you can do that is to establish your own individual retirement account, or set up what is called a Roth account, where you don't get a deduction on that account, but with your money that you've earned, you put it into the Roth based on your tax bracket, and that money grows without tax obligations. And when it comes out, it all comes out tax-free after you've held the account for a 5-year period. Your own money that you've paid tax on can come out at any time, and it's also tax-free because you already paid tax on it. So, but that money growing in a tax-deferred basis accumulates a lot faster than if you're paying tax on that deposit.
All right, Lee, what are the most desirable of those three that we put up? We have tax deferred versus taxable, IRA versus 401k, or IRA versus Roth. Of those three, what are the most desirable?
I'm actually going to throw in a caveat.
Okay.
Tax deferred, taxable, tax free.
Okay.
So there are ways to do a tax-free accumulation, and that's through the utilization of a Roth IRA.
So which one of those?
The Roth IRA is one of the most interesting and flexible of all tools available out there at the moment. It allows you to put money in, not deduct the money that you put in, because the money that you would put into an IRA or a 401k is deductible. That's the upfront benefit. But on the back end with an IRA or a 401k, it's taxable. So the Roth is one of the greatest tools ever invented. Utilize it, which is a tax-free accumulation and a tax-free distribution. So that's the best of all worlds.
The younger the person is, meaning that they're probably not earning that great an amount, therefore their tax bracket isn't that high. It makes so much more sense to seriously consider the Roth instead of the deductible IRA. As you move up the ladder and you pay more in taxes, your tax bracket gets higher, then you have to consider whether it makes more sense to put the money into the IRA or the 401k or the 403b plan, take the deduction on that money so you're not taxed on it, and let it grow. But if your income is moderate, then the Roth makes a great deal of sense.
Lee, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say there's ways to put money in annually into a Roth. There's also ways to convert an IRA, a large IRA, 100, 200, 300, 500,000, portions of that, not all at one time necessarily, but portions of that into a Roth IRA. So it's like driving over the bridge, you have to pay the toll. The toll on the conversion is the taxation on the amount of money that you roll or convert from an IRA to a Roth IRA. But once you cross over the bridge and pay the toll, the monies that are in that Roth IRA are in there tax-free for you, tax-free for the next generation in your family, tax-free as it sits in there, tax-free on the way out. So it's a wonderful tool to utilize in the planning process.
And with the tax structure, the way it is now, it's critical that people look at all these different things to utilize what they can to maximize their own family structure tax-wise the best way.
Taxes may be going up, what you're
There's
thinking,
no question
right?
about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the most
Right.
interesting things we have, and we always forget to talk about it, but let's bring it up right now. We have a report, an analysis. It's about a 25-page tax report. And it's really a decision that if someone has an IRA, or a rather significant IRA, 100,000 or more, they may or even less, but
Even less.
They,
It doesn't
even
mean-
less. They may want to consider converting that IRA to a Roth IRA, paying the toll. But there's an analysis. It's really a tax discussion. It's not, oh, well, I shouldn't I? It's a tax discussion. And this report is a 25-page analysis of should you or shouldn't you based upon your tax bracket and the tax effect.
And
for
you
and
would
your
have
family.
that available, obviously, for
So
them.
that's an excellent planning tool
Right.
in the process of doing financial and
We've
estate
partnered
planning.
with a CPA firm that basically does that for us and for our clients. And,
Okay.
I mean, any CPA can do it, and they can get it done by their CPA for whatever the cost would be. We have it, like I said, we've partnered with a CPA firm that does it for us, and we make it available, to our clients for a nominal cost.
Okay, we have more to talk about here on the show. It is Molotsky on Money. We're here every week at this time discussing a variety of financial issues, and yes, we have plenty more to talk about tonight on the show. With Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. More Molotsky on Money right after these words. Stay with us.
Just as it's extremely important to have your automobile's brakes tested, we think you must have some type of safety net provisions in your financial plan. How are you protecting your bond positions from rising rates? How are you protecting your stock market gains from market sell-off? Do you have the proper provisions in your financial plan to assure that your income lasts as long as you do? Are you keeping up with inflation? Call 1-800-MONEY-SHM to schedule your safety net review. That's 1-800-MONEY-SHM. Not everyone can endure the ups and downs of the market. When planning for retirement, you can ride the roller coaster and take your chances, or you can eliminate the downs by properly repositioning most of your portfolio. If you're 5 years pre-retirement or 5 to 10 years into retirement, it's not too late. As a matter of fact, it's never too late to avoid the next down movement. Call the SHM Financial Group at 1-800-MONEY-SHM or check us out on the web at shmfinancial.com.
Welcome back to Molotsky on Money. Don't forget, if you would like to contact Stan or Lee or any member of the SHM Financial Group, we have the phone number on the screen from time to time, the email address or the website. Feel free to contact them with your question or your thought, or you'd like to get any of those reports that we talked about. They're happy to talk to you. Remember, it's the SHM Financial Group. Again, that toll-free number is on the screen, as well as the website and the email address. This is Molotsky on Money. We're here every week at this time discussing a variety of issues, and tonight we're talking about the way to build your retirement basket, or very simply, the way to save money as much as you can, as soon as you can. Before we get back into it, Lee, that report you were talking about is available to our viewers?
It is.
Right now, complimentary?
It is,
Okay.
at the moment.
All right, so we'll do that. The report on basically figuring out the Roth and how it makes sense or doesn't make sense for them.
Correct.
Tell
I
them.
mean, we need about a half an hour to an hour, sit down with the individual, look at their portfolio, look at their IRAs, and then we take the information from our discussion with that individual, run it through our system, and a week later we have this pretty comprehensive 25 some odd page report about that individual's specific situation. How much he or she should consider of his or her IRA, how much they should convert, the tax effect to them based upon today's tax laws.
And the same thing would apply with a 401k or a 403b plan, which has been deferred, whether they then convert it to an IRA and then make the exchange into the Roth. And like Lee said, it's basically a tax report showing the tax obligation they would have, and if they did it in stages, what that tax obligation would be, and how long it would take if the money is invested in a variety of different things to pick up and regroup and regain whatever that tax burden would be. But that's a must. It's a must to look at the report from an analytical point of view to decide if they should make that conversion.
Okay, we're talking tonight the ways to build your retirement basket, or as I like to say, simply to save money. And we have a couple of different points here that we're going through. This one is, can I withdraw money from my IRA before I retire? I might even know the answer to this one, but I'm not going to say. You're the experts here.
Well, yes, you can, of course. You can always withdraw money, but then there's some tax implications. If you're 59 and a half, you can take money out of your IRA at any time without incurring an additional penalty. As long as you convert it to another IRA, there's no tax implications, but anytime you make a withdrawal from your IRA after 59 and a half, then you have the tax that you have to pay based on whatever bracket you are in at that particular time. If you're before 59 and a half and you take money out of your IRA, you have the tax on that money, and you also have a 10% penalty by taking the money out before 59 and a half on the earnings that you would have earned on that IRA. So it's a little more complicated. There are extenuating circumstances that allow you to take money out of an IRA without the penalty, but it's still taxable.
Okay, hold that thought, because the next point here kind of
Just said that when the money comes out of the Roth, currently the tax structure is that the money comes out totally tax-free.
Hate to use a rule of thumb, but maximize your 401k as much as you possibly can. Most times, even though many of the 401ks are not up to snuff, the options are somewhat limited in many 401ks. The expenses are relatively high, but maximize them as best you can, especially if your employer has a match. then later on down in life, look to roll the 401k into an IRA, then look to convert via our process, which is the utilization of our report, how much of that IRA you should convert to a Roth, which then gives you tax-free money.
And when to do it and how to do it.
And I want to follow up with that because one more before we go to break, and this is a follow-up to what you're just saying, Lee. Can I convert an IRA to a Roth, advantages and disadvantages? Should you categorically convert?
The answer is run the report, don't
Okay.
know. I mean, it's really a tax question. The disadvantage is paying the toll. You got to cross the bridge go to southern New Jersey into Philadelphia. You have to pay a toll, and the toll is the tax on the conversion from the IRA to the Roth IRA. But once you pay the
Once
toll,
you pay it, then you're finished, right?
then you're in.
Right.
And now once you're in, everything in there is tax-free. Everything coming out of the Roth is tax-free, and you can structure it through a number of the tools and instruments that we use in our practice so that you can get a lifetime income which becomes tax-free.
And the other thing, too, part of what this report points out, what the tax liability would be on the conversion. And then there are different things that you can do to offset that tax liability. So in a lot of cases, when we've worked with clients, we've shown them different things that they can do. Yes, you have the tax to pay over here, but then over here you have the deduction on this to offset that, and it winds up being basically a wash without any tax liability.
That's why you do what you do.
That's why I love to do what I do.
Because
Yes.
you just explained ways to really
You know,
offset that. That's great.
As
think
I've
it's just
said,
building-
many times, excuse me a second, Lee, we live without a doubt in the greatest country that has ever been assembled on the face of the earth. And we're all happy to pay our fair share of tax liability. Just there's no need to pay more than your
Right.
fair share.
Which has been your point all the time.
Constantly.
Right.
And especially today with the current tax structure that we are about to be confronted with, you want to look at different ways to minimize your tax obligation so you
Okay.
don't keep getting hit over the head.
More to talk about here on the show, the way to build your retirement basket. That's what we're talking about here tonight on Molotsky on Money. And as I said, plenty more to talk about. With Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. More of this evening's program right after these words. Don't go away.
As we approach certain times in our lives, it's very important to make sure our brakes are not worn out, and we have an exit strategy in the case of impending volatility in the markets. Don't wait until after your next accident. Test your brakes now. Test your portfolio's risk model now. Make sure you are positioned in order to protect yourself. Avoid the next market crash by having your brakes checked. Call 1-800-MONEY-SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974. The SHM Financial Group has been providing sound, safe, and secure planning for over 50 years. Check your brakes now and be better safe than sorry. Since 1958, the SHM Financial Group has been providing sound financial insights and strategies for people just like you. Founded by Stan Molotsky, the SHM Financial Group believes in safety, security, and preservation of principle. For more information on how the SHM Financial Group can help you, contact them at 1-800-MONEY-SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974. Or visit them at shmfinancial.com.
Welcome back to this edition of Molotsky on Money with Stan and Lee Molotsky. I'm your host, John DeMasi. Remember, if you have any questions for Stan or Lee during the week, if you'd like to contact them, there's a toll-free number. It's up on the screen from time to time. I suggest you write it down, or if you want to go on their website, feel free to do that. If you would like to email them, feel free to do that as well. They're always happy to talk to folks who watch us here on the show. If you tell them we look good on TV, well, you never know what you might get out of that, right?
They may get an appointment with
They
an
get an
optometrist. If that means
Okay. All right, we're discussing tonight the way to build your retirement basket, and we have a couple of more points here. We've been discussing Roth and traditional IRAs, and this is who can have an IRA or a Roth IRA. And we have here working teens, et cetera. What do you mean here, Stan?
Well, a lot of times you know, 15, 16, 17-year-old, they might have a part-time job, especially summertime, or, you know, used to be in the olden days, you delivered papers. You don't do that anymore because
Yes,
nobody
we're-
reads
we're
a
looking at a
newspaper.
former paper boy right here.
Absolutely, yes. But, you know, they may do whatever it is, and if that money, they can take that money and in turn open up their own Roth IRA. They're not in a tax bracket where they're paying any taxes in most cases. The money then goes into a Roth, and that money sits and accumulates for them forever and a day, totally tax-free, and it's a beautiful thing. And then over a period of time, if they keep adding little bits of money to that, it really adds up and becomes worth a substantial amount of money over a period of time.
Didn't you set up your grandchildren?
Yes,
They
all
have
of
that?
them work in our practice. They come
Okay.
in, they shuffle paper around, they run the copy machine, and actually the teenagers are running reports for different companies that we're interested in. Yeah, so they're
And they're
part-time
tweeting.
too.
They're
And they're
tweeting.
tweeting, of course. Well,
Well,
that goes without saying with that generation.
That's-
But
yeah.
can we say hi to Matthew? Hi, Matthew. How are you? Yeah,
Matthew be coming home from camp soon.
that's
right?
good. Well, we're saying hello. Okay, one more here. We're going through the way to build your retirement basket, and this is this. I guess this isn't for everyone, Stan, but it's a SEP and/or KEO plan or a Special K plan, and we're not talking about cereal.
It's funny. That's a pseudo misnomer, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's actually called an individual K, but we have a number of clients that call it Special K, so we
okay.
call it a Special
Okay.
K.
Well, talk about
But it's
that,
actually
Lou.
called an individual K plan, and for those individuals who are self-employed, it's a way for them to maximize instead of just putting $6,000 into an IRA, which is the max, 5,000 or 6,000, whatever the max is.
Based on their age, right?
Right, based upon their age. You can put in, for the self-employed, about 40 to 45,000 into your plan. So it's a way to super hype up the amount of contribution into your retirement plan.
mean, you have
And
to
that's called an individual K plan.
You have to set up the plan. Costs a few dollars to set up the plan, but then, like Lee said, you can maximize and put in substantial amounts of money as long as you have.
And that's probably one of the most, if we talk about have a show about underutilized
Exactly.
instruments, the
That's
special
one of them,
K
right?
or individual
It-
K is probably.
I don't think a lot of people know about it.
Well,
Yeah.
Do they?
if you don't have employees, it's ideal. If you have employees, whatever you put in for yourself, like with an HR10 or KEO
Yeah,
plan, then you have to maximize percentage-wise for your employees. So then the HR10 plan may be better, but for an individual, like Lee was talking about, who is self-employed that wants to maximize his or her contribution to a retirement account. I mean, we have a client that
We have a
she
number
put-
of clients
Yeah.
that have special K, individual K plans, and it's wonderful because they can really pump in $40,000 to $45,000 a year,
Tax-free?
deductible.
Deductible off,
Deductible,
yeah,
okay.
right.
So it
All right.
becomes, it's kind of like, think of an IRA on, I don't want to say on steroids, bad thing in sports analogies and baseball.
Well, that's what
today,
it
but
is, though, really.
It's an IRA pumped up.
Right.
So that
Okay.
you can put in.
But
40
that's
to-
legal here. It's-
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, not right.
Yeah,
Perfectly right.
steroids on
Right, okay.
retirement plans are
Everything's legal here in the show.
Legal
Okay,
steroids.
we got some questions from folks who have talked to Lee or Stan or have emailed. And this is Bill. He is from Deptford, New Jersey. He says, I've always had trouble saving money. Now I'm 51. My wife is 49. We're talking about retiring someday and traveling, although with the cost of things, I don't think we'll ever be able to do it. I'm really concerned, but my wife says we have our children, 3 of them, ages 18, 16, and 14, and they'll take care of us. I don't think that's realistic. My question is, how do we develop a discipline and start saving money? We have only about $5,000 in the bank. About the point about the children taking care of you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Right.
Well,
No comment, right?
I have no doubt that, if that should ever come to pass, Lee and his brother will certainly take care of us. There's that little room on top of the garage.
Really?
that
Okay.
they'll throw us into.
But about, I mean, 5,000 in the bank, 51 and 49. What do they do here?
They have a problem. I mean, they have a problem because there's not enough emergency money with 3 kids. And, I'm assuming, I forget, did they both work or was just one?
Didn't say.
Didn't say.
Didn't say.
That's also important. If one of them loses their job, or if what happens to the income flow? They need discipline, and they need to be. They need to sit down with someone, whether it's us or somebody, to establish some sort of a plan to put some money away. And that all comes back to that what we opened the show with: pay yourself first.
So they
Something.
should, in theory, take out something out of their checking account or something right away.
Absolutely.
Correct? And start and discipline, and they should do more than what they. In other words, if normal people do 10%, they might want to do 15 or 20.
If they
correct?
possibly can, and there might be a way to restructure their mortgage, there might be a way to do some other kinds of planning that they're not even aware of, and that's why they should sit down with someone who can help them.
Yeah, one of the two of them need to start their own little business. I mean,
Get discipline.
well,
Discipline and save
you
money.
need to work a second or develop your own little business.
Well, maybe they have that. We don't.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
know
we don't
everything.
know
but-
enough information.
And with that, we're going to put the wraps on another edition of Molotsky on Money. Don't forget, if you would like to contact Stan or Lee or any member of the team at the SHM Financial Group, feel free to call or email or go on their website. For Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. Always a pleasure. Thank you for watching. Good night, Jenna. Good night, Alexa. We'll talk to you next week. Molotsky on Money right here. Take care.
Do you know what your risk tolerance is when it comes to your investments? Do you know exactly what you have in your portfolio? The SHM Financial Group have developed a very important program called a financial stress test. It's simple, quick, and can help you in your future financial plans. Contact the SHM Financial Group to schedule it. Offices in Collingswood, Voorhees, and Lakehurst, New Jersey. Call 1-800-MONEY-SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974. Call us to discuss the reverse mortgage concept. If you should decide to proceed, you're required to go through a 60-minute phone or office interview. We will provide you with a list of HUD counselors you can call who will provide you with the counseling. Call us at 1-855-HUD-REVERSE. That's 1-855-483-7383. We think you must have some type of safety net provisions in your financial plan. How are you protecting your bond positions from rising rates? How are you protecting your stock market gains from market sell-off? Do you have the proper provisions in your financial plan to assure that your income lasts as long as you do? Are you keeping up with inflation? Call 1-800-MONEY-SHM to schedule your safety net review. That's 1-800-MONEY-SHM.